Welcome, welcome. Good evening, Phisto.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
That's good to hear.
Life is good. How are
I
you?
hope everybody's doing well today. I'm doing well. I'm just jamming to my sweet, smooth 1988 Japanese vibes. The Japanese version of Careless Whisper. Sumimasen.
I was wondering what language that was. I couldn't quite make it out.
Yes, in the last month while we've been gone, I have watched a lot of anime and I've become an elderly Japanese man in spirit. So I'm sitting here sipping on a jar of sake, talking to spirits, you know, listening to city pop music. Life is good. But yeah, anyways, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Black Ibis Social Club. And it's been a while now. We've had a spotty month and a half of recording. I think we only managed to do 2 full episodes plus a kind of a bonus one I did. And for you guys that are listening at home and will be listening to this on the follow up, the reason we haven't done as many episodes is because it was Great Lent, and both Phisto and I are Orthodox Christians. So we did a lot of Great Lenting, that is. And the Orthodox Church is like, like Roman Catholics are like, yeah, I give up something for Lent. The Orthodox Church is like, we expect you to give up everything for Lent, and come to church every night. And that's what I've been doing. I've been going to a lot of church. We've been going to a lot of things with my family. And indeed, he is risen. There was a Christ is risen thrown in. And then, of course, last week was Holy Week. And of course, Pascha was this weekend. For you guys that don't know, that is Easter. It's pronounced Pascha. And it's Pascha in Greek and Pashta in Romanian and whatever in different languages. And we're 1 week behind because the Orthodox Church is on the Julian calendar, the one created by Julius Caesar, as opposed to the Gregorian calendar, which was created by Pope Gregory in the year like 1000 something. But either way, so we didn't do any podcasting during Holy Week because I was at church. And then, man, I wanted to do some extra bonus stuff, but the whole Easter thing, it whooped me, man. Like we went to liturgy in the morning on Saturday, and it was awesome. It was a great liturgy. We threw bay leaves everywhere and flower petals, and everybody was kind of yelling. And then went home, hung out, took a nap, and came back at 11 o'clock p.m. We did the great Easter liturgy, and it was dark and spooky, and kind of creepy and depressing and sad. And we went outside the church and we walked around in circles with candles. The coolest thing is when you light the first candles from the front of the altar and everybody lights their candles from each other's candles, and there's just this wave of candles lighting. And we did a procession around, and then they knocked on the doors, and there was like a refrain thing going on. We came in and everything was lit up and it was amazing. And we did another liturgy, and then we were at church until like 5 a.m, eating all the stuff from the blessed baskets and playing with the eggs. And we went home, slept for a little bit, and came back for a quick Vespers, and then everybody grilled and ate a bunch of food and just had a great time. And man, I got sick. I think I pushed myself between work and all the different liturgies and all the different Vespers and the canons and stuff. I got home around like 6 p.m. on Sunday, and I started having chills. I had like a 102 fever, and I just went to bed. I had a horrible night, which was like just kind of like feverish hallucinations all night. I woke up and I called my work and I was like, hey guys, I'm not coming in today. Can you like reschedule all my stuff? And I just laid on the bed watching TV on the couch, like wrapped in blankets. But yeah, the whole Lent experience was really awesome. I want to talk about that a bit because I have some observations. But how have you been, Phisto?
Good. Great Lent was pretty great. It
That's
was
your
my
first,
first.
one, right?
Yeah, it was my first one as an Orthodox Christian. So needless to say, it was a great time. 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 you probably lent it a lot harder than I did, and I learned a lot, which I guess is kind of the point. But yeah, it's been a great experience. Um, Learned many things that I know we're going to discuss. School has also been going well. We had a large debate project this week that ended up with a big competition today. So I'm actually pretty exhausted. I've been doing the talking thing and talking to students and teaching and talking and talking and talking. Oh my God, so much freaking talking. And here I am on a podcast doing more talking. So, whew, but it's good.
I'll do
It's
the
good.
talking. You know.
Yeah, I know it's fine. The debate stuff especially has been very, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess intellectually nourishing. One of the fun things about speaking with kids is that if I could explain it to them, I could probably explain it to other people, and then I could also explain it to myself. And one of the thoughts I had today, so I've been working on that digital cosmology stuff, and I've been working it on. It's going to be something that I'll make part of the debate club. And today I had the realization that LLMs and AI may be the counter revolution to the digital revolution of the internet. They're putting chains on the mob, guys. They're putting chains on this surly mob we have. So it's great fun for me, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about AI a lot also.
Yeah, I got to think about it more, but that was the thought that popped into my mind as I was watching the debate today. And I suspect that means it's probably a halfway decent debate if I'm gaining insight, right?
Right.
So
right.
yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm really proud of all the kids. The one that won totally deserved it. The runners up totally deserved it. Even had some tears, had to hug it out a little bit, encourage some people. So full spectrum coaching action.
Did you do your taxes?
Yeah. I did my taxes.
I'm so mad.
A while back. Yeah.
So
yeah. I guess the Black Ibis Social Club put you like $80,000 in the hole or something.
Oh my gosh!
You've just been making that money.
Like I'm making so much money off this podcast that like I basically owed. I had to sell my house. No, I think I did like the taxes for the because we have an LLC for the podcast, just really to protect me from taxes. And I like did the math and stuff, and I think we made a profit of $40 after expenses. So the tax guy's like, yeah, GTFO, dude, we even need to file that. And I'm like, okay, maybe next year. Hey, we all start somewhere, but it did help with like lowering my other taxes. And I don't make a lot of money, man. Like I'm like, I guess I'm strictly lower middle class, right? But my wife like has her own business when she's a photographer, she does wedding photography and commercial photography and stuff. And you don't get deductions out of that and stuff. And honestly, right. She makes enough money to like, we're like, that's like our money for like, groceries and that kind of stuff, and it keeps us above water, really. But of course, because of that, we got slammed with like a $5,000 like tax bill, and it's like, you sons of bitches, man. You know what I mean? Like, we're like struggling to like, do all this stuff, and it's like, it just makes me so mad, And then I still got taxed by California for some reason, which I haven't lived in California for 3 years, and I'm like, dude, stop taxing me.
Because you don't live there anymore.
Yeah, it's like I'm like officially a resident of South Carolina, so I don't know, man. It made me mad. Like I tried to like be positive about it, but it's just like I was like, oh, here's my $5,000 that I don't have, so I have to put it on a credit card to pay off my taxes. So that's like a coat of paint on a Tomahawk missile wasted in Iran or whatever. fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Put it on a credit card to pay your
yeah,
taxes.
yeah. I
America.
had to, you know, like I had to. Like, I don't make
Yeah.
enough money, dude. Like, who the hell has like
Fiat money is
five
not real.
grand? Yeah.
Fiat
I'm just
money
like,
is not real.
maybe I'll just die. So before we get into like specific topics, I do have to say that um, I didn't really set up any real talking plan today because I figured we'd do more of catch up and kind of mention some things that have been going on while we've been gone. With the whole Lent thing, talking about that, we can talk about. I do want to ask you about the space thing that's been going on.
The space thing, you mean Artemis?
Yeah, Artemis, yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's I made a note of that while I was sitting here before I hit go. The other thing I wanted to let everybody know is that we will get back to our regular schedule, but not next week because I am having surgery next week. I'm having an anterior dissection and cervical fusion. All right. So I'm going to have 3 of my vertebrae drilled out, all the discs removed. They're going to go through the front of my neck. They're going to move my esophagus and my trachea and my, all that stuff. They're going to drill it, like remove 3 discs. They're going to drill out the nerves that are impacted, and they're going to put a titanium plate, probably a piece of Artemis into my neck. And it's definitely going to be like some kind of a Mossad mind control device or something in there installed.
Yeah, they're gonna install some moon rocks that they swept by on the way back. They just reach out the window and grab those on the way by.
Right. So that's happening on Wednesday.
That's pretty cool, man. That's space age stuff. No, all jokes aside, I hope that goes well for you.
I hope so too. I mean,
I know that's been something.
In a way, it's a major surgery, and I'm slightly afraid of it, because I have to stay in the hospital overnight, and I can't drive for 2 weeks because I'll be on like a bunch of medicine, like a bunch of like narcotics, and I won't be able to turn my head for a while, and I'm gonna have to do physical therapy. But I'm really hoping that it fixes all my pain, so I can hopefully get back into returning to my jacked and tanned old self of a few years ago, because I feel like I'm getting like kind of writerly looking, kind of Substacky looking instead of Instagram looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully that resolves that. But I don't know if I'll be able to talk for like a week or so, based on like what the nurse I was talking to and the neurosurgeon. He's like, yeah, I might not be able to talk for a few days because your throat's gonna be really sore. You have to drink soup. So, and also, does anybody want to hear me like do a live stream or a podcast on like Norcos? As I completely like jacked out of my mind, even more so than I usually am, which is completely sober, right? So like if you guys listen to me talk, I'm completely sober. I don't drink while doing this. I don't do any I haven't drank at all in a long time. And you just gotta imagine me jacked up on like Norcos or whatever they're gonna give me, Oxycontins or something.
You must imagine Alex happy.
It's just me singing like in Japanese for like 2 hours straight. Maybe we'll get a lot more followers if I do that. I don't know. We'll see,
possible.
right?
It's possible.
Right.
I know the greatest Halo game I've ever played. I was super high on something for neck surgery that I had. So it's possible.
I have never been good at like focusing, like the only thing I can do well when I'm like I haven't done drugs in like fucking over 20 years, like
Yeah.
I had like Vicodins like prescribed to me like when I hurt my back maybe 10 years ago, and like Valium, which I like Valium. Valium was pretty cool. But I never like I haven't like I don't think I had smoked weed like back in 2007, like long time before I joined the Navy, and I never really liked it. I've never like, and I can never do anything when I'm like drunk or something like that. I have like no focus. Like, people tell, oh yeah, I like to get drunk and write or paint. I can't do that, man. I can't even play video games drunk. I don't have like the focus for it. Like I can watch movies.
Get sleepy. Yeah, just get sleepy.
Yeah, I can watch like I can like drink wine and watch movies. Like I got to the point where like my wife and I kind of timed it. Like we can split a bottle and I'm fine. Right. And, half a bottle of wine is like the perfect movie watching amount of wine for me. If I sometimes I'll go like overboard and drink the whole bottle, or I'll go like a bottle and a half, and that's too much. That's like when I start like not paying attention to the movie. I'm like, I'm not paying. I'm like thinking about random stuff, or something makes me cry or something. You know what I mean? Like like I don't know. Um, but yeah, so for you guys in the chat, if you have any questions or anything like that, please send them my way. We'll talk about anything. Um, I don't know when we'll do the next episode. Maybe we can do a Tuesday one. It's up to you. We'll figure something out. Probably
Yeah,
not a
man.
good idea to do it before surgery, but we'll figure something out. I do have tons of stuff planned. I will be off of work for at least 40 days. I'm not going to go back to work for 40 days. So that means I'm going to be like gooning around the house, like, coming up with stuff. So I plan on doing a lot of writing, and I plan on doing maybe some like book reviews because I've been reading a lot. But let's talk about Lent.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for you guys saying that you're going to pray for my surgery. And Vizier said that his friend had the same surgery and it went well, and it did the relief. That's what I'm looking for, man. Like I got to the point where like I can't like bench press anymore because like one arm just like drops the bar to the right. I've like lost a sensation. I can't pick stuff up well with my right hand and stuff. I keep on dropping stuff, and it sucks. I just want that to be resolved so I can go back to, I can't even run, which kind of sucks. Like I can't even go jogging. So it's like, it's really hard to like manage. I managed to stay like fit and like in relatively good shape by dieting alone, and that's not a great way to do it because eventually I feel like I'm starting to lose muscle mass, and it sucks, man. Like it's not fun. So I'm hoping to get back and get swole. Maybe I'll get some of that TRT and get jacked, and then this will turn into a freaking Sun and Steel Yukio Mishima podcast. All right. But Lent. Okay. So I'll tell you something interesting about Lent. I kind of,
Yes.
it kind of slapped me over the face, man. So I've never done like the full Lent before. I've always gone, I'm a cradle Orthodox guy, but back in the old country when I was little, we'd go to like, Easter service, and it was great. Yay. That's as far as I remember candles and stuff, and that's about it. Occasionally when we moved to the US, we'd go to like a Greek Orthodox church or something. And we'd all have like, we'd eat like lamb on Easter, and that kind of stuff, and do like a little family thing, but we never did the whole Lent thing. And I've done like kind of like baby Lents on my own, especially in the last 8 or so years since I've been getting back into being more serious about religion. But this was the first year where, before Lent started, our priest is like, well, everybody asks which of the days you should come. And he's like, I'm going to tell you all of them. He's like, do I think you're going to come to all of them? No, but if you ask me, I'm going to say all of them. So my wife took that 100% literal, and we went to all of them, basically. I think I've missed, like, there were some like morning liturgies where I was at work and I couldn't do it, but I pretty much went to everything. And I'm telling you, like, I started off, and here's where I told myself one thing. We did some modifications of our lifestyle while we're at home. Obviously, we kept the fast. My wife did. It was difficult to keep the fast because as soon as as soon as we started the fast, my daughter, like, she's 7, so she's not doing the fast. I mean, she barely eats anyway, so it doesn't even matter, right? Like, but we tried. She's like, I told her like, oh, like, we're not gonna. You can't have like ice cream all the time like you do regularly or whatever, But I kept the fast 100%. And my wife, like, right away, she was right at the beginning she was a process of seeing like a doctor, and they came up with like a hormone like therapy program for her. And they're like, no, you got to eat a bunch of protein. So she couldn't keep the fast. And I'm like, okay, well, that's, that is what it is. So she basically ate on her own. I fasted on my own, and my daughter ate whatever in between both of us, So it was kind of difficult because I was sitting here going, man, I really, but the fast part was not the hard part. I think I think I fell into like eating some meat like twice, where I was just like, oh, dude, I need to eat some meat real fast, and there was like a meatball spaghetti available, and I'm just like, give me a freaking meatball, dude. I'm gonna eat it, and then I felt bad about it. But I did a lot of. I told myself, we like didn't watch any television or anything during the week. I didn't play any video games. I tried to like give up things that like were like high intensity, kind of high impact, like and we focused more on reflective things. We did a lot more like reading together. And one thing I told myself to do was I was like, I'm not going to read a bunch of like theology or like orthodox books. I'm going to read the Bible. I read the Gospels, which I did a little bit every day. But what I really wanted to focus, I wanted to kind of, I wanted to like kind of like approach this like in a way like a brand new catechumen, where I'm not like obsessing about, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And so I didn't read anything. Like I put aside a bunch of like uh, religious books and like historical Christian books and stuff like that. And I kind of avoided that. I have a stack of books that I bought that I was planning on reading during Lent. And I thought, I'm going to put these away. So I really focused on just like kind of like more thoughtful literature, reading I read a lot of Haruki Murakami. And then on the weekends, I watched like a lot of anime because I've been in a Japanese stuff mood for some reason. But I came into, I realized right away, I started having a hard time with it. It was like, it was a challenge, right? I feel like I was getting, just like intellectually or like spiritually or something like assaulted. I found myself constantly struggling with it, where like, I don't want to go to church again. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to, I had to like force myself. And I thank my wife because she was such a great motivator. She's like, no, we're going. No, we're going. And as soon as I went and we did liturgy or we did a Vespers or we did an hours or whatever, I loved it. I was like, wow, I feel so much better. I'm so, but I felt like everything stressful and wrong was coming at me. Like I was constantly challenged. Like I had a lot of very high stressful situations going on at work that I couldn't deal with. I had all these issues with my surgery coming up, like kind of fears about it, kind of discomfort. Would I be able to take time off? Will I be able to like arrange my driving up to, I have to go do it in Charleston. So it's like an hour and a half away, all these stressors and the taxes and like one of these big trees by my house is like all ratty and hurricane season's coming and I need to pay like $4,000 to cut it down. But like, I'm like, I can't afford that. And so this tree's going to fall on my house and I'm going to die because it's right above my master bedroom. And, it's just like every imaginable annoying thing in the world was just coming at me, and I felt like between work and having going to church, I had like no time to breathe, like I'm just like, when can I deal with this? When can I handle this situation? When can I, and I guess that's the point, right? I think I don't know, maybe I looked at it wrong, right? And I realize now that I looked at it wrong. I went into Lent very excited. And the reason I did it was because I had this idea of like almost like a spiritual yoga mom kind of outlook to it for some reason, like where I'm like, I'm going to go in, it's going to be March. And I'm like, bro, I'm going to like stop like playing video games and I'm going to like, I'm going to pray a lot and I'm just going to eat like only like lentil soup and vegetables. And I'm going to do all this praying and I'm going to feel so fulfilled spiritually and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I expected it to be this like, in the same way, like this sounds like really weird, but like in the same way that like those guys that like go to fucking Guatemala to do ayahuasca and get one-shotted by the corn demons, and get like they're spiritually awakened, it opened my third eye or whatever. I kind of went into it with that mindset, And God's like, nah, dog, no, this is a challenge. Like, here's all this, Yeah, like, and I realized, like, I'm like, oh man, like, I was just like, I was so frustrated. I'm like, "Boy, this doesn't feel good, this doesn't feel good." And I realized, well, yeah, it's supposed to not feel good. You're supposed to be out in the desert, you're supposed to give up, like, you know, this was a quick conversation that was had on Substack, but you're not supposed to give up things that are bad, right? Like, you're not supposed to be like, oh, for Lent, I'm quitting cigarettes and beating my wife.
Guys,
Well,
for
yeah,
Lent, I'm giving up black tar, heroin, and orgies.
yeah, you're supposed to always give
Fantastic.
those up, dude. Like, you
Fantastic.
don't, yeah, it's not Lent. You're supposed to give up bad things. You're supposed to give up bad things all the time, right? Like, like, I'm supposed to give up like everything all the time. Lent is supposed to be putting aside good things, right? Things that are good, but of this world. So you can focus on your spiritual development or your
Notice
spirit.
notice how we inadvertently gave up the podcast for Lent.
Yeah. Yeah. The
For
good
example,
things.
for example, for example.
Yeah. The
You're
good
welcome,
things.
guys. You're welcome.
Yeah. And it's like you're supposed to give up things that are good,
Yeah.
like steak and stuff, right? It's not like a hypocrisy game when you're like, yeah, I'm going to give up smoking for Lent and then I'm going to like take it right up, like eating meat is not bad. We don't give up eating meat. We're just giving meat because you can live without it. It can become a distraction, and you give up like, watching movies and stuff and video games and, that kind of stuff, not because they're bad, but because they can distract you from your focus. And once I gave up a lot of these distractions, what I realized that my focus didn't become focused on God per se, or on Christ and on spirituality. My focus, that vacuum, was filled with like noticing all the annoying shit in my life that was bothering me. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, of course, taxes and this and bills and how am I going to pay? How am I going to buy groceries? And that kind of stuff. And in a way, it cleared me to see all the ills in my life, and it allowed me to kind of like not fix them, but realize that it's okay. I'll figure it out. Like instead of stressing about how I'm going to pay my taxes, in April, I'm just going to go to church and pray about my family and pray that we're healthy and we're happy. And, and like, yeah, you know what? I'm stressed out about having surgery, but I know I'm in God's hands when it comes to that. And I have a great neurosurgeon. He's going to do a good job. And you know what? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's nothing
Yeah.
I can do besides do it, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I realized. And I haven't fully, I don't know, I haven't fully absorbed that yet in a way, but like it was definitely a slap in the face because I have a tendency. I don't know if you have this one or you guys in the chat have this tendency of going, okay, I'm going to work out and I'm going to get super fit, right? And it's going to start on April 17th and I'm going to do this exact routine that I wrote down. And in like 3 months, it's going to be perfect and awesome. And, I'm going to get everything perfect and I'm going to use all this right equipment and I'm going to do this all the time exactly on this day. And then I get stressed out when that doesn't happen, when the world doesn't play along with my perfect routine that I set up. So I start spiraling into like, oh, maybe next week, maybe I'll start next week, and I don't do anything. I don't do any of that, right? It's the same thing with like writing. I'm like, okay, tonight at like 9 o'clock exactly, I'm going to like light candles and I'm going to brew some tea and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write. I'm going to finish this novel, and I never get around to it because 8:55, my daughter's screaming about something and my dog poops on the ground, or all the things happen, and then it's like 11:30 and I'm still like haven't even like turned my lit my candle yet, and I'm just like, this sucks, I'm going to bed, and I get nothing done. And that's just life, man. That's how life works. And I think that in a way, like, Lent is supposed to teach you that, yeah, you have all these things, you just have to kind of focus on what matters, which is forgiveness and
Yeah.
worship, and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah. It
yeah,
reminds
did
me.
you go
I
ahead?
was just gonna say, it reminds me of what I told you the other day, that if I were to sum up my Lenten experience, which is, like I said, just taking a lot of notes and um, just checking it out. It's that realization that it's not about what I hand over; it's opening my hands in the first place and just stop trying to control it. Taking your hands off the steering wheel. Not literally, of course, but It's about
Right.
what it's about what just, you know, if I need it, if I need it, I'll get it. If I don't, I won't. If I have it and I shouldn't need it, then it'll get taken away. And the pain and the suffering comes from struggling, going, no, give me that back. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Right.
You're suffering because you're not letting it go. I mean, you might still
Right.
suffer anyway, but at least there's joy in the realization of the release.
And you know what? A
So,
little bit of suffering is good, you know.
yeah, suffering is good actually. Yeah, no, I mean, gosh, the amount of pain I'm in day to day, um, I've learned to transcend it, and 100% anybody tells you that pain is bad is a moron. Pain is pain
Right.
is fantastic. Pain is the source of all things, not all things, but source of great wisdom.
Right. Right.
So yeah, man.
Did you manage to go to any of the canon readings,
The canon readings. Um,
the canons of
we
Saint
went to a
Andrew?
couple of yeah. Well, we went to a couple of vespers. That was something I really enjoyed. Was I guess I did because I remember really enjoying like, hey, I'm just coming to church and I'm listening to scripture for an hour and a half, and it's strongly recommend a way of reading your Bible. Just go to church and listen to it be read. Um, we went to some of the vespers. I remember having Palm Sunday on the day everybody else is celebrating Easter was actually kind of cool, only because I had this sort of out of body experience of being outside my own culture. Because I mean, growing up, we always celebrated Easter with everybody else, and then even when I wasn't practicing, um, Easter Sunday was still Easter Sunday, and then here I am, the week of, I went, oh, that's right, Julian calendar.
Right.
This is fun. This is an interesting this is an interesting portal space to be existing in.
Right. You know,
I like that a lot.
sometimes I'm like, ugh, I wish we just like switched to the Gregorian calendar for everything, you know, because like the OCA, you know, we use in a lot of Orthodox churches switch to the Gregorian calendar for figuring out Christmas. So we do Christmas on the Gregorian calendar day, but the Pashta is the one thing we keep to the Julian calendar. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wish we just did it on the same day, you know. But then on other times I go, you know what? There's some benefits to it. And look, not theologically, I don't like that's not in my wheelhouse. I don't want to debate why we do it or why we don't do it. Um, but like sometimes I can go like, well, you know what? It's actually kind of cool that it's not on the same day because it allows us to be a little bit different and it allows it to be like our day in a way. Like it reminds us that like we're separate from this world kind of and we're doing something different from this world.
Right. Yes.
And it does give a little bit more like kind of weight to it, more credence to it, you know. It's not just like, oh, something we all do and everybody and the Protestants and everybody's all doing the same thing on the same day. So I like that. But yeah, you know, I mean, it'd be kind of convenient if it was on the same day. But I think last year it was on the same day, if I remember right. We kind of overlapped, and every 12 years or so, I think it overlaps. But yeah, I had a beautiful like liturgy, man. It was amazing. And one of the cool things is on Lazarus Saturday, we chrismated a bunch of catechumens, and one of them was my good friend that started coming to our church with me last May. I think he's been coming, and he got chrismated, and his family flew out from Texas to be there for it, and I got to meet his family, and it was such a wonderful thing because I'm a sponsor, so I got to do everything, and it was such a great thing. Like I felt so good. Like he's
Nice.
one of the most wonderful people here, you know, and he ever listens to this episode because he does. I was picking on him last episode because he's the guy that went to go see Metallica for what I thought was too much money, or Creed or whatever, and but at the same time, like I was like honored that I got to be a sponsor, and it was so wonderful seeing his family. And there was a bunch of other people that got chrismated, and they've been catechumens for almost a year now, a lot of them, and they finally got chrismated, and it was just so great to like get to take communion with them. And it was, I don't know, just wonderful. I know, like, I've been looking around on X and on Substack, and it just seems like every Orthodox church has had so many chrismations, and everybody's
Yeah.
just growing, and it's just wonderful. It's just a great thing that, like, and a bunch of my coworkers joined us for his chrismation, non-Orthodox guys, and they're like, "Whoa, this is really cool," and I thought it was just wonderful. I really enjoying it, even though I'm like, oh, I just want to go home and play video games. The demon spawn, Alex is just like, I'm tired of this church. I'm tired of all this church. And I'm like, shut up, evil devil, shut up. What's his name? Screw Tape. Shut your mouth, Screw Tape. You know what I mean? Like, you're just whispering on my shoulder. I'm just feeling tired all the time. But yeah, it was wonderful. So I look forward to another year. It's exciting. It's a bright week. Vespers is going on right now, and I'm missing it. So, I figured, I told my mom, I was like, "Are you going to do a podcast and I go to Vespers?" And I'm like, "Yes, I need to do the podcast." And I've had enough church for like a long time. I'm good. I'll be there on Sunday. We have a wedding at our church this Sunday, and so I'm going to be there from 9 in the morning for liturgy, then probably hang out for coffee hour and eat. Then the wedding's in the afternoon. And I'm going to be there probably all night. So I think I'm good. I'll make that up. I'll probably be going to Vespers, like, great Vespers on Saturday night. So I can miss one short Vespers. I'm sorry, everybody, that I'm a bad goer of church. But yeah, other than that, it was awesome. So let's move on from this to Artemis, right?
Yes.
And, I'm in the middle. I know you are a big raw Artemis is cool. I'm like, that's cool, but it's been done before, but it's still cool that
Well,
we're doing it again.
well, to be fair, I've kind of gotten a little mild on that
Okay.
stuff. It's definitely cool. It's definitely cool. And I enjoy the fact that it is occurring, and I look forward to seeing what else happens. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not the NASA booster I used to be. But that's probably because I went back to church, and I I'm no longer trying to fill that hole. So that's probably a big part of it. I do appreciate, just though, like, I've been I read Screw Tape Letters recently, and I've been joking a little bit with this Phisto tape, and I think there is something to be said for gazing up at creation and learning more about it, and flying through it and exploring through it, and it's just like fucking right, man. Like, some of the pictures that have been coming back, it's just, yeah, that's cool. It's fantastic. It just makes me happy, man. It's a
It's awesome.
yeah,
We're gonna
it's
answer
a beautiful
Jason's
universe, man.
we're gonna answer Jason's question in a bit, which is, why are space things always named after pagan gods? All right. Um, but I do want to say that I am in I'm in no way, shape, or form I'm no way, shape, or form a moon landing hoax person. I actually find
No,
that whole moon landing hoax absolutely retarded, and I actually find
100%.
I find that idea actually to be anti-white racism or anti-Western racism, and I think I explained this before, right?
Yeah, you have.
I think that, in a way, like, the space missions, whether they're Russian or American, are the peak of kind of Western man achievement. And I know some people,
Yep.
well, Russians aren't Western. I'm like, okay, cool, but you're gonna go listen to the Nutcracker and like Tchaikovsky when you like praise Western stuff. But like, I hate the whole Russians aren't Western thing, even though they're part of everything that's Western canon. But right, and
Yeah, no, they
communism
are. They are.
is
They're
Western
Western
because,
because they're good.
right. But the thing is, though, it's like, it is the peak of achievement, and a huge part of it is that I think, actually, you quoted, what's his name, today, like James, one of those famous kind of ex commenter guys, Matt Walsh or whatever.
Walsh?
Some, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Walsh, right? And he
Oh,
actually
yeah,
said,
yeah, yeah.
he said the same thing I said, and I've said this before, and you can go back on Substack and you can find me saying this, that I think that the reason the reason people are denying the moon landing, or it's especially in like leftist sphere, you see a lot from the leftist sphere sometimes now, is because we can't go to the moon, right? And sorry, and what I mean is that like a bunch of like crusty, nerdy white dudes for and like Air Force pilots and Soviet like engineers and German engineers and all these guys back in the day with like pocket protectors and calculators managed to get to the moon, right? And after that, once that was over, and the 70s kicked in and LBJ took over, it became, NASA became a project for multicultural enlightenment and world enlightenment. It went from being an American project to this like world one one government, one unification thing going on, and they started bringing all like DEI type women and stuff into it, and it degenerated into Columbia, and it degenerated into NASA not being able to even go into space without hitching a ride on Soyuz rockets from the Russians, who still kept their ability to launch into space, right? So of course the problem is, if you say like, why can't we go into space now but we could do it before, well, you have to look at the obvious and go, what's different now? How is NASA different in the 2000s during like the Obama era than compared to NASA during the 1960s? And it's obvious to anybody that's not retarded what is different about it, right?
Yep.
And it makes things uncomfortable for the people that see NASA as this Federation Star Trek thing, right? So it's easier for them to say, well, we just never happened. Those guys never figured it out. And that's why it's irritating. And then on conspiracy theory stuff, it's really stupid because it's like, it involves the idea that like two opposing superpowers, the Russians and the Americans, are both agreeing to lie about this thing, and it's just so stupid. It is just so stupid, right? It's one of the stupidest like conspiracies around, and
yeah,
at the same time, that's why I'm kind of like a little bit cringe on the whole Artemis thing, because they're acting like it's like this huge deal. Like, oh yeah, we went back and we went around the moon. I'm like, okay, cool. You did that in 1969, bro. Like, yay. Okay. Congratulations. It's just, why haven't you been doing it for the last 30 years?
Right.
Why is it 2026 and you're finally doing this when, you landed on the moon in 1969? So what the hell were you doing for the last 30 years? Oh, I know what you were doing. Dumb shit, and that's kind of the frustration about the whole thing. But yeah, it's silly, I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I look forward to the day when orbital flights to the moon become commonplace, and we only comment about them when there are spectacular accidents that get splashed across the news,
right?
Like whatever. Yeah, it is that realization that there is just that awkward realization of why haven't we been back? Why on earth is this just happening now? However, the frequency with which that question gets asked can only be a good sign.
Right.
I mean, I've thought for a long time that humans pursuing space flight would be a great counterweight to the lie of egalitarianism and to the lie of all the things that we've been doing since we stopped going to the moon. Space does not care what race you are. Space does not care what sex you are. Space does not care anything about you. If you fuck up, it kills you. And that is an important bit of reality that our species, especially in the West, we need to rediscover. We need to stop living in a fucking cradle, being nursed by our government, being nursed by our society. We need to go where the danger is. We need to go where the excitement is. We need to go where the exploration is. And if we die, so be it.
Right.
Sign me up. I'll go next.
I don't think we need a reason. I think the only reason we should go to this into space, into the moon, is because it's there. All right.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's that whole thing. It's that whole thing about like, why climb a mountain?
Well,
White people are weird, dude. Climb
it's
mountains.
autotelic. It's
Because it's
autotelic. It's
there.
automatic. Yeah, it's automatically teleos. It's automatically pursuing. It's automatically pursuing um, theosis. It's automatically pursuing what God made you for. We are here to enjoy. We are here to enjoy God's creation. We are here to
Exactly.
enjoy and witness the glory the glory of our Creator.
Right. You
And
know
that's my
what?
favorite part about space, man. Like you look up and you see and you look and you conceive the grandeur of it. You concede. The problem with all these conspiracy theories and the way that people talk about it, it's like the problem is that you are just spitting in the face of God. Because I mean, it's not that these people are saying, "Oh, we faked to the moon." Like these people don't understand how light works. They don't understand how cameras work. They don't understand how gravity works. They don't understand the positioning of the planets, physics, and everything else. And it's just no, just shut up, stop, just no, you stop spitting in the face of the Creator. And at the end of the day, it's the kind of thing that ultimately is infernal. It's ultimately demonic because it gets back to, if all these things about space and all these things about the cosmos and all these things about astronomy aren't true, well, then it also means things like hope, things like love, things like the resurrection also do not matter. And
Right.
go back home, eat your slop, watch your slop, masturbate, shut up, and be good little data cattle. I mean,
Right.
it's
Because
it's
they're
it's
they're
yeah,
dirt dwellers, man. They have
yeah,
no
yep,
like transcendent like sense of self, and then you get these
right.
like utilitarian fucks that are like, oh well, we could have used that money to like build an orphanage. Okay, I'm like, okay, Judas,
Yeah,
okay, all right. And you know what, listen, I'm gonna get taxed anyways, so if my
right.
tax money goes to go into space, that's cool. It's better than
Great,
going
fine.
to be dropped, on
Yeah,
freaking children in Iran or whatever. Like I'll,
yeah.
I'll I'll pay for all the space rockets. Okay, if
You'll take you'll take Artemis. You'll take Artemis over a tomahawk.
exactly. So you know what? Eat
Yep.
it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
sure, fine.
and
If you're gonna steal
it's
my money, yeah. If you're gonna
ultimately
steal my money and steal my riches to go to space, fine. I
yeah,
can think of worse things.
right. Like that's the thing. It's like, why do we do it? Why do you do anything? Why do we climb a mountain? Because we want to go to the top. Why do we? I want to go
Yeah.
to Mars. I want to go. I'm never going to make it, but I want humans to go to Mars. I want to, I want to go to Mars, and I want him to build an Orthodox church on Mars. Okay, all right. And I think the answer to Jason's question, why are space things always named after pagan gods? I think the question is that's because the planets are named after pagan gods, probably, right?
Yeah,
You know,
originally, I'm pretty
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah,
I think that's the theme they're going
like
for,
back in the
right?
day. Yeah, back in the day.
All the planets are pagan gods, right? They're all named after the Roman version of the Greek gods, right? You got Venus
Yeah,
and Jupiter and all that
that's the
stuff.
name that stuck. I mean, I imagine there's probably been countless names throughout history for all the things that dot the
Yeah,
sky, but these are the ones that we settled on for whatever reason. But it's probably just honor. It's the old, if you discovered it, you get to name it. So the
right.
ancients saw the planets first, so fine, we'll keep your names. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
if you want to name things after saints, or if you want to name things after other things, then well, go find them.
right. So I think the
Then you
whole
get to name it whatever you want.
mythical thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he also says he doesn't know there could be a Tower of Babel vibe to all of this. I mean, yeah, there is there. I think there's definitely a an an, an idea of that. There can definitely be a little bit of that into it. I think ultimately, you know, ultimately there's a level of there's definitely a Faustian thing to it, right? Like it's definitely like it's definitely a tough thing, when you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, right? But and you have myths like
Well,
Icarus warning us not to fly high, not to go too high, and but at the same time, I think in a way, I think that I don't know, it's just
well, I'd like Jason to elaborate a little bit more about what he means by a Tower of Babel vibe, because in my mind, space exploration and space colonization will be as much a Tower of Babel as the settling of North and South America was. It's new lands, it's new places.
yeah. That's
Um,
kind of what I look for it. I look for it as that, you know, the universe is God's creation, all of it. And we have the intellectual and capacity to, in the technology to access the universe. So why not do it? Why not go into space? Why not? It's like saying like, oh, well, we're not fish, so we shouldn't go underwater. Well, why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the moon is there, we can see it, so
Yeah.
well, we can go
Yeah,
to
we're
it.
still we're still we're still sons of Adam and Eve, and I think
Right,
we're going to do the things that Adam and Eve would have done had they not made that horrible mistake. But
right,
of course, it is going to be it is corrupted, it is diseased. Um, so there's going to be that thing. But at the end of the day, that'll all get cleared up in time. So in the meantime, I mean, I like having a front row seat.
right.
I'd be lying if I didn't.
Vizier asked, would the Harris administration have named the Artemis program after an indigenous name for the moon, like Pocahontas or something like that?
One of
Sacagawea
the one of
Sacagawea
the
mission.
one of the best things I've seen is Pirate Wires was talking about how the indigenous people of the moon are Americans. So I can't wait for the land acknowledgments when they go to the moon and they acknowledge the Americans that settled the moon originally.
That's pretty good. Yeah, but
Hey,
then
we even planted our flag
then you
there,
have to give
baby.
orbit to the Russians then, so it's like a tough one.
Yeah. Low Earth orbit goes to the Russians. And low Earth orbit is also Orthodox, so y'all are gonna have to just deal with that. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But no,
Yeah,
but that it honestly, like, this line of questioning is interesting. What is the theological kind of idea of space travel? What is the theological idea of going to the moon, right? Is it something we should do? I mean, from I can't I can't speak fully theologically, but the Russians don't seem to have a problem, and they're taking icons, and they have you know space icons. Basically, there's at the International Space Station, there's actually icons in the space station. They actually
yeah.
do liturgy up there, or like they do that kind of stuff. There's
I
no
want to be the guy
religious
that blessed. I want to be the guy that blessed the ISS and fling the
right.
holy water
They bless all the Soyuz
in low
rockets.
G.
I don't think there's any religious stuff on the American side, but there was that big little kerfuffle, the Reddit kind of tier stuff, where like the one of the astronauts quoted God and quoted the Bible and mentioned God, and then a bunch of Reddit dorks were like, "No, my God,
Yeah,
this is science," and it's just
whatever,
like, yeah,
nerd.
shut up,
I'm on.
dude.
I'm on Artemis. You're not. Deal with it.
Yeah. So I
Um,
mean,
to
I
answer
think it is. I
Jason's
think it is an
question,
interesting conversation to have, right? It
yeah.
is. It
Well, I
is.
mean, are we doing it because we can, or are we doing it because we're trying to have power that wasn't granted us? It's both. It's always both, and it's
Right.
always it's always a mix of both between everybody involved
Right.
because we're all sinful. It's. I mean, are we doing it because we can? Hell yeah. Are we doing it because we're trying to have power that wasn't great? Yeah. I mean, scientific pursuit and the development of technology, we understand things so that we can control it, but we also like understanding things, but we also like controlling things, but we also like understanding things. It's both.
Right.
It's
I
it's it's the corrupted nature of man.
I this is something that, like, I've been thinking about a lot, actually. And when I read Chasm City, and when I read the Revelation Space, I was thinking a lot about like religion in
Mm,
space, and how do we
yes.
do religion in space?
We ought to
And
finish that trilogy, man. We ought
I
to
know we
finish
do.
that
I
trilogy.
I've
Yeah,
read.
because the second book is the predecessor for my favorite computer game series of all time. So
Right.
that's what attracted me to it in the first place.
Yeah,
Man, that was
I
a
read
good
the
book.
first one, and I read
That
Chasm
was
City, which was
Yeah, man.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, you ought to send me your copy of Chasm City. I
Yeah,
want
I
to read
need to.
that.
I have it. I read it on Kindle, so
Oh,
I Kindled it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just send me your Kindle, man. It's fine.
Sure. I have a brand new Kindle too. It's actually pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. I'm
But
just
yeah,
being a dick, but
it
yeah.
is an interesting topic, because in a lot of like the sci-fi of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, and all that, they tend to have a very atheistic view. I feel like the kind of atheist shitlords kind of took over sci-fi for a certain for a huge amount, and sci-fi is very much tied to a lot of Enlightenment era kind of post, you look at like Childhood's End. There's a lot of Gnostic nonsense in science fiction. There's a lot of like, um, kind of like humanist or anti-humanist kind of stuff where like, oh, we're all one people, we're all going to transcend to being a species of light and blah, blah, blah. This kind of like, even in Star Wars, you have these kind of like Buddhist ideas of
Yeah.
very, very, it's very monistic, and it's like a lot of science fiction like that. It's very either straight atheistic, or there's this like idea of like, God is everything and everywhere in space, and some kind of a jellyfish god or something. And yeah, so there's definitely a lot of theological issues, but then you look at the actual space travel that's happened in the real world, and you have a bunch of Russians that are like Orthodox dudes taking icons into space, and then
Right.
even a lot of the American astronauts are Christians. So
Protestants, Protestants and Catholics.
I am, and I used to be like in my atheist kind of days when I was big into sci-fi and stuff. I used to think like, yeah, when we go into space, we're gonna put back. This was kind of like the atheist Reddit bro mindset of like, once we go into space and we become a space civilization, we're gonna put silly things like God and superstitious, and that kind of stuff behind us. And the more and more I think about it, and the more I realize that it's actually, to me, I think it's the opposite. I think that the more space we see, the more people will believe in God, because you're going to see just kind of the uniqueness of humanity. And, this like, I don't know, it just, once you're faced with this
religious belief is going to be a very, 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 very stubborn thing to get rid of. And the atheist folks are absolutely, speaking as someone who took that seriously for a long, long time. They're absolutely deluding themselves. It's not going to go away, and it isn't just Christianity that's going to follow us into the stars. It's all the other stuff that's going to follow us into the stars too.
Right.
You're going to have space Muslims. You're going to have space Mormons. You're going to have space.
Well,
space
the Mormons they're already in space because.
I mean they're halfway to Alpha Centauri by this point.
Yeah.
You're going to have the space whatever the hell the Indians do. You're going to have space samurai, right? You're going to have the space Shinto. You're going to have the space, all of it. It's going to be all of it. And
can you imagine being on like the Mars colony in the Indian section, and like then the air recyclers go out, dude? Oh my God, the curry smell, and you're going to just die.
No. I think that'll actually be a problem they have to solve for.
Mumbai 2 and Mars.
Yeah, they won't be able to bring curry. They won't be able to bring curry because otherwise it won't function.
Eating that durian fruit and stuff. You're like, no, stay down there.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But I think the other side of this that we need to talk about, and John Carter, we should get him back on here soon. He wrote a very great article a while back that I referenced in my Star Trek Trooper episode, my Star Trek Trooper essay. But he talked about in depth the selection pressures that would be involved with a Mars colony. I mean, my God, you can imagine a bunch of Christians going to Mars, and the kinds of Christians it would create. They would get fucking hardcore, just because it would just push them harder. It would push them harder and harder and harder and harder. And like, just the kinds of people that it will create are going to be, I mean, look at the selection pressures that created the Americans.
Right.
Just dial that up. Dial that up to a level that we simply cannot understand. Because the other part about this too, and this goes back to Jason's thing and why I said it's both. I mean, we are created by the God that created the cosmos that we are exploring, and that creative spark, that divine origin, is in us. Even though we're corrupted, even though we're sick, it's still in there, and it's just, yeah, man, it's going to be a terribly cool disaster. Is going to be what it is. Because that's all it's ever been for us.
Right. But yeah, I think thinking about space travel in a kind of religious sense is good, is important. I think that it's something that I'm gonna kind of, Jason's questions kind of sparked this interest, or re-sparked this interest, because I do want to think more about it. And there's stuff like, well, you can say, well, like you can say, oh, well, we're not supposed to go there because we can't, we're not supposed to go there, right? But at the same time, based on that kind of logic, you can say, like, like you said, we weren't supposed to go to the New World because the New World is not mentioned or discussed or even hinted at in the Old Testament at all, or in any
Right.
revelation.
Right.
So, and nobody at their technological level during, the Abrahamic kind of era of the Old Testament, or, even really up until the, after the New Testament, could even like dream of sailing across the ocean, across the
Yeah.
Atlantic to reach, to reach the New World, and didn't know about it. So
Well,
the same argument could have been said, well, if God wanted us to sail across the seas, then, he would have been made us fish or something like that. So
well, if it's like if we aren't meant to go there, we aren't meant to go there. We aren't meant. So what? Did God not make it? Is it not there? Like, are we supposed to just? Are we supposed to just? I can't wait
right,
till Jason's done with that Mormon series. By the way, the Book of
right,
Nephi. But anyway, I mean, it's and I mean, in a lot of ways, this all. I don't mean to kind of be circular about it, but at the end of the day, all of this is fine. Is it going to fucking stop anybody?
right.
No,
No,
you're talking to the
no,
species that you're talking to mankind. We ate the apple, guys. We're not going. We're gonna go, and it's gonna be a blood-soaked gold rush, and it's gonna be what it is. And I mean, to a certain extent, though, this is what I mean too. Like by like the religious communities that expand out into space, and if you have a Christian colony on Mars, what that's gonna look like. Oh, you're not supposed to be there. Not supposed to be there. Look how hostile it is. Look how hostile it is. Well, we figured that out because I mean, it's just they're engineering problems, right? We can fly safely to the moon. That is not a problem. So you figure that stuff out, you fly out, you get there. And I find it hard to believe that the people that do this, if they do it successfully, they will recognize that they did it because they took God's creation seriously. That they took God's creation. They believed it when they knew that, guys, if we fuck this up, we're all dead. So there's no fucking up.
right,
You know,
right,
tough and competent. That Apollo 1, what we learned from Apollo 1 when those poor guys burnt on the pad. Tough and competent. And if you're not that, get the fuck out. Because
right,
they can't demand anything less. And in a funny way, that's also the garden. Do this or get the fuck out.
right. And
You know,
and
just that
it's,
lesson.
when you look at a lot of sci-fi, you get into a lot of like things that can become like theologically problematic. You've got stuff like, cloning or embryo, like kind of keeping,
Yeah.
embryos
Well,
to,
yeah.
or even like, I don't know what's the religious viewpoint on if we are able to like freeze people, right, and keep them in stasis for 100 years, like in Chasm City, during these like generational ships. um
Right.
like what is the, and that's, these are questions that are going to need to be answered in the future if that becomes
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I
How,
suppose we'll get to them.
yeah, so we'll see it. It's fascinating, and I think it is a very interesting conversation to
Yeah.
be had. And it's actually, I'm going to try to find some literature on it, actually, to see some religious ideas. Obviously, some religions, some denominations tend to be more space oriented, like the our own American Muslims, the Mormons themselves are very big into space stuff.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica is just basically the Book of Mormon, but in space. And you have a lot. I hope that Jason, when he does his Mormon episode, mentions Battlestar Galactica and some of the ideas in that show, because it's a wonderful show, both the old and the new one. But I really like the new one. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because that show did, for a sci-fi show, had a lot of theological and religious themes to it. And it's fascinating. Even Star Trek dealt with a lot of religious stuff, like the wormhole aliens and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, the
You know.
interesting topic.
One thing I think is probably the only theological question that matters. Not that it's the only one that matters, but it's probably the one that matters the most. Is if we find life. If we find life, that's one thing. But if we find anything approximating people, or if we don't,
Right.
if we don't, that that is that's almost a careful what you wish for question.
Right.
It's almost a watching the Red Sea get parted and going, I think I'd actually like to go back and work for Pharaoh because this is terrifying.
Right. Now, I'm with Father Seraphim Rose on the idea that I don't believe that any aliens have ever visited us. I think that
No,
aliens are all demons, and everything that they describe as alien visitations just sounds way too much like
no,
demonic
no. Yeah,
possession and demonic
none of it makes
involvement.
sense. None of it makes sense.
It's like, you've got uh you've got the you're out there in the field and like the aliens come and they just touch your booty. Like, okay, for intergalactic space dudes, like it seems that they're focusing to be on probing people's booties constantly, which sounds more like demons to me than aliens, but that's just me. And all, that you can look at like examples of what the church has considered demonic possessions and demonic encounters in the Middle Ages and before, and they very much sound like alien visitations in the 60s, which is very tied in with a lot of new age kind of Buddhist Hindu stuff that got brought to the US around that time in the whole hippie drug counterculture. So it all sounds like demons more than aliens, and it just, once again, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah,
um but
I like
is
visors.
there
I like Vizier. I don't know how you say that, but
Vizier?
Vizier. Yeah, was the punishment from the Tower of Babel about their physical acts in building the tower and why they were building it. And I mean, when you do something like why you're doing it and act like, it's you can think about stuff and you can talk about stuff all day long, but if you don't actually like do anything, then
Right.
it isn't actually all that important. You actually haven't really, there's not any
So from
act.
from from my understanding of the Tower of Babel story in the Old Testament, what we're talking about is that the Jews at that time, what they were trying to do is they were trying to reach God, right? And the tower itself was probably not a tower; it was probably like a ziggurat, right? And what they were trying to do is so if you look at stuff like Mircea Eliade and the different like kind of world religion kind of studies, and there's always a mountain, right? We're always talking about a holy mountain, right? Christ goes on to the
Yeah,
top of the mountain, and that's when his divinity is revealed. Moses goes up to the mountain. There's always mountains. Temples are always at the mountains, right? And mountains are part of the axis mundi, where it goes up to heaven, and then the underworld beneath the mountain, the volcano. A lot of, almost like every culture, every like spiritually advanced culture to a certain degree has a mountain in their kind of early theologies. The Japanese have Mount Fuji. Just across the world, you have mountains as places of spiritual power. The temple is on the mountain. The peak, you have Mount Olympus, where the gods live. Right? It's always gods are on top, and I think the way I've always read the Tower of Babel story is that the humans use the technology given to them by not good elements often, technology given, technology and tricks and magic and stuff that was taught to them by basically eating the apple, and their goal was to replicate and be an unnatural form of the mystic holy mountain. And they were going to build themselves to be at the top of this mountain. So the idea is,
right.
if you build the mountain yourself, if you build the holy mountain yourself, you are the gods on top of it. And you can reach God directly without any intermediaries, without anything in between. And in a way, it wasn't the act of building that was considered a sin, or what upset God. It was the act of like trying to take the power for themselves, right? And it's interesting, and yes, Jason says that the new age demonic stuff is also part of why they always name stuff after pagan gods. Lots of NASA related people into that stuff historically, and that's true. There is a lot of NASA stuff that were really into Scientology. There was a lot of, one of the founders of the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the JPL guy, was a big Aleister Crowley occultist who ended up blowing himself up. There's a lot of crazy stuff if you look into NASA, early NASA, and a lot of the occultism related to it. So I think there is. I think that it is definitely a razor thin line that we're walking with that kind of stuff. And there's definitely some ideas and some of the people behind that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's why this is such an interesting question from a Christian perspective. Like, how do we really approach this kind of stuff? I think that it's very different in a way than the idea of the Tower of Babel, because we are not trying to reach God. We are not trying to become like gods. At least I'm not, and Phisto's not. But I
No.
think that there is different elements like the transhumanists like Elon Musk and stuff that do have that mindset, right? And I think you see that more, they've in a way moved away from space travel and more into biological there. And it's very interesting with these like transhumanist guys where that are involved in space travel type stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, we are kind of
Musk's
playing with
whole
the occult and stuff.
Musk's whole being the guy that settles a second planet would set him up as a kind of savior in human history.
Right.
Which is perhaps what he wants to be remembered as, is the guy who did that and secured humanity's future for however many thousands and whatever years.
Right, like a demigod, I mean, these guys read the same sci-fi we do. All right, we know Musk does, right? Musk is a guy that is a sci-fi reader. He met one of his wives by talking about Dune on Twitter, right? He met Grimes that way, and I don't think it's unfeasible to realize that this guy would love to transhuman himself into some AI cloud where he, his consciousness is eternal in some kind of a transhuman cloud uploaded to the Mars colony where he is basically the demigod of a new planet, right? Like a newly, like, that's not beyond this stuff. I mean, in Neuromancer, how you had the Tesser light pool or whatever, like clones, where they kind of ran the corporation through clones and through basically a familiar consciousness of Neuromancer, the AI itself, right? I mean, that's they probably jerk off to that idea. Okay, like that's absolutely their idea.
Never mind what Wintermute ended up becoming.
Right. But do I think
that?
But at the same time, when you look at the exploration of the New World, some of the conquistadors had absolute crazy spiritual ideas of what they were going to find in the New World. I mean, they were looking for El Dorado. They were looking for cities of gold, and they were looking for the fountain of youth, right? Which is basically they were searching for immortality. They were searching for Eden, right? So they had that same kind of motivation in a way, right? In a very 17th, 16th century kind of way. But yeah, it's no different than looking for the fountain of youth is no different than looking for transhumanist immortality in cyberspace between Mars and Earth, right?
Yeah, we get kicked out of the garden and we want to get back.
Right.
We want to go home.
Yeah, I guess this is such an interesting topic because I don't fully have developed thoughts on it.
Yeah, no.
I think Jason triggered our thought process. A part of me likes it. I think it's good to go out and explore.
From the guys, for sure.
And then there's definitely an occult element. There's definitely a Faustian element. And like Jason just said, God can use all things for good ultimately.
100%.
Right?
100%.
But there's definitely a lot of sus stuff involved in the space exploration, space travel. I mean, we all know that NASA was built on the backbone of Nazi scientists. We know
that's
that
why we went.
Yeah, we know that those guys. We know that those guys were involved in all kinds of occult stuff. A lot of the Nazi dudes were really into weird Hinduism and Kali Yuga stuff. They still are. A lot of paganism stuff. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. I know that the Russian side of the space exploration was very much into this one world government kind of global universal socialism, and that's kind of what was their goal to prove with space travel. And so it's fascinating. I think, man, like, what, I'm kind of fired up now because I want to get in some theological like reading about space travel. I know, like I said, I know that in the American side of space, we tend to stick to sci-fi. There's not a lot of Protestant. I doubt, like, if anybody knows in the chat or listens to the episode later, if there's any like spiritual, like religious stuff from a Protestant perspective or specifically an American perspective on space travel, I would love to read it. I know you can find more of it from like a Russian Orthodox kind of standpoint because they tended to be more into it. But you have a lot of stuff. I mean, like a lot of Tarkovsky stuff, like like Stalker and Roadside Picnic, but not about Tarkovsky, but it's what the movie Stalker was based off of. There's a lot of stuff with space aliens, and they're always kind of almost Lovecraftian in nature or forces of the universe type of thing versus like the more ET based aliens. I think that there is right now a really kind of weird and interesting, kind of creepy resurgence of alien stuff. Like it feels like the government is like hinting or like, oh, there's some files we're unlocking and that kind of stuff. It seems to be a very Epstein file type tease that they're doing. It's ironically coinciding with the release of a new alien movie by everybody's favorite CIA propagandist in Hollywood. What's his name? Uh, who did ET and Poltergeist and stuff. That famous director that everybody knows, that we should know his name. That guy. Steven Spielberg, right?
Spielberg. And there you go. Holy crap! Wow, I'm officially old.
Yeah, I know. Amazing. Spielberg himself was involved in really popularizing the friendly alien kind of thing with
the friendly alien trope.
Yeah, with ET and
hey guys.
And then he before that he did Close Encounters, which was another like it really shaped the American media landscape when it comes to aliens. So it's interesting that he has a new alien movie coming out, I believe, and it's kind of there's all this like government release of files kind of stuff coming around. There's a lot of interesting in Roswell and like Area 51, and so it's interesting, right? Like there's definitely sinister elements involved in the idea of space travel. If you're really, if you really want to go down crazy rabbit holes, you can go into reading about a lot of the stuff that happened in the 60s, specifically in California. A lot of these cults in California and a lot of these new age cults were all space kind of oriented. There was definitely something in the cultural zeitgeist with that. They kind of collapsed a lot of like Hindu Buddhism, kind of monist Gnostic universalism into space ideas. You see a lot of it in Charleston's End. You see a lot of it in Space Odyssey, right? Of course, Space Odyssey was written by a guy that spent the last parts of his life going to Thailand and sleeping with underage boys. So it's it's interesting, man. It's interesting. Same thing with Childhood's End, right? It was written by the same guy that wrote Space Odyssey. So yeah, like it opens tons of cans of worms. And I feel like I need to read some theological works on this topic to really have an opinion on it. A part of me, I think I'll end this topic because we need to kind of do a quick final kind of conversation. But I think my final feeling on it, a part of me embraces like the Western Faustian spirit, where I think, yes, it's good for us to go as far as we can. Right. Like, I think we're called as humans, specifically Western men and women, to go as far as we can. Why climb the mountain? Because it's there. Right. That's kind of how I look at it. But then another part of me feels a little bit like Jason feels, where I'm like, this is the right thing. Right. Are we going to open a Pandora's box of bad stuff? Is space the other tree of knowledge, that we shouldn't be messing with, So yeah, it's all good questions. It's good questions to, because we like to look at how we're going to build a colony. It's going to be awesome, or it's just going to be fake and gay and worse than Earth. I don't know. Like
no, everything we built out there is going to suck. It's all going to suck. It's going to be hard. Well, it's going to be hard and terrible and short and death, and we're going to do it anyway.
and we're gonna bioengineer ourselves into being even bigger
Well,
retarded mutants, you know?
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, just think about what we did when we went to. Just think about what we did when we went to North America. I
right,
mean, like how many colonies fucking just straight up failed, and like we have no idea what happened to them. Yeah,
right,
I mean, that's going to be colonies all over the system soon.
right.
You're just going to be like, yeah, they're gone. We don't know where they went.
Never heard of
It's just
them. And they're just
poof.
out doing
Yeah,
their own thing, mutating into like
yeah, right.
freaking lizard
Yeah,
people or something like that. You
yeah,
know, yeah. But
yeah. Of
yeah,
course, no, it's going to be horrible.
for you guys at home listening to this episode, not live, um, one of our favorite guests and best friends and current commenter in the chat, Jason McGinty, he does a fantastic history podcast. He's working on a history series of of Mormonism and American religion, and I'm really excited. As soon as that comes out, I'm going to
Yeah,
listen to the whole thing, and we're going to have him back on so we can talk about that, because I've been fascinated by Mormonism forever. If you really want to go down some like a rabbit holes of reading, I would highly recommend looking up in Wikipedia and then going from there at the burnt over district in New York, the state of New York, northern New York, the burnt over district. It's filled with fascinating religious stuff, and you can read about interesting characters like the true universal friend, which it's all crazy 19th century or actually 18th century stuff, and you're going to be like, wow, you're going to realize that a lot of the crazy new age stuff that we're dealing with today is actually not new at all. It's been a trend in kind of American cult religion for almost since the birth of America. And it's fascinating stuff. So burnt over district in New York, read up at that. But we'll move on real quick and then call it a night, because I know you're a busy guy and you got to wake up early. You
yes, sir.
read anything new, watch any new movies or anything like that before we go?
Oh, we watched Penelope the other day. My wife kept saying that you had mentioned it as a movie you would watch with your daughter. So we threw it on, and I was like, yeah, I can see why someone would watch this with their daughter.
What movie?
Penelope.
What was it about?
It was about a girl with a pig faced nose, and she falls in love with the thing, and it's all like, she's out there in the world, and I guess you talked about it.
I
Do you
don't know.
not remember?
Maybe I
Because I
did.
mean, it's God, what was the actress? Hold on.
No, I don't think it was me. I would have remembered this one, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, did you look it
That's
up?
kind of cool. It's like a pig faced girl.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it was just in a dream. It was just
maybe.
in a dream,
Yeah,
and
I
now
had a
Alex is getting caught up in space time.
no
Yeah,
when
I
I
mean, it was cute. It was cute. Like if you watch it with your daughter, I mean, it might be something that would be, whatever. It's got some humor in it. It's got some good jokes in it, and Christina Ricci's fantastic. So that's always a good time.
oh, it's one of her older
Um,
movies. Wow, okay, I see it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'll show it to her. Right
Anyway,
now,
yeah.
she's obsessed. My daughter's obsessed with watching Demon Slayer, the anime, and
Oh yeah.
we've watched like all like 50 episodes of it, and we're waiting
Nice.
for the movie to be released on streaming, because it's like you can't see it anywhere right now.
Nice.
And yeah, I really like it. It grew on me. And I also watched we've been watching a lot of anime. I feel like my wife's like, all we do is watch anime now. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I think it's because it's actually good compared to like a lot of American stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, it
Or you're a
usually has like
diner goth. You're a diner goth.
yeah, I know.
It's
And
okay.
it's just you
We all
don't.
are.
It's you want to watch stuff that has like a good message and it's like positive, and it's it shows like growth and trying to like like a good message, and you just can't find that in like a lot of American stuff. So
Right.
you have to go to Japan, you have to go to Japanese stuff, you have to watch anime if you want to see like girls that are like positive and feminine. Th- those don't exist in you watch something from Pixar and it's just a bunch of snooty kids like fighting with their parents and just being rude, and it's ironic and kind of gross and mean, and a lot of it is mean spirited. A lot of American stuff is very mean spirited, very irony poisoned, very like uh negative and kind of nihilistic in its outlook. And then you go to like a Japanese show, and my daughter loves these like Japanese romance shows. They're like high school romance like anime, and they're all like just heartwarming and like cute and nice, and the girls are nice in them, and the men are nice in them, and it's just like, oh, okay, I see why people like this stuff. Like I finally understand after many years of like kind of poo-pooing anime. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not absolutely degenerate like Western media is, and I enjoy it. I actually watched. I'll probably do a kind of a side one. This one anime called Dan da Dan, Dan da Dan. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's just really weird. It's about. It's completely like insane. But I spent all day in a fever watching 2 seasons of it, and it's about this like nerdy kid that's obsessed with UFOs, and this kind of like cool girl that's obsessed with like spirits and stuff, and they like argue that no, the UFOs aren't real, blah blah, and they go to like a UFO hotspot and a spiritual hotspot separately with their cell phones on, and they encounter aliens and like a weird ghost spirit thing, and then like the plot goes really crazy from there because there's a ghost that wants to eat. Well, she actually like steals the teenage boys like schlong, and it's really funny. But anyways, that's what I've been watching.
Nice.
So that's kind of my thing, and I've been reading a lot of Miyazaki and writing. But guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll have this episode out probably tomorrow by afternoon, edited and out for everybody. We will schedule our next episode hopefully sometime next week based on our schedule and my surgery.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And if we don't get anything next week, I will 100% should be able to speak and, God willing, no complications or anything like that with my surgery. I should be able to be fine by next Thursday. And once we do that, we'll be able to do regular episodes. I've got a bunch of cool stuff planned for the summer. I'm going to do more writing. I'm almost done with the novel I'm writing. So when that's ready, that should be good. I finally have enough time to read. So I'm going to be reading a lot more. And I plan on doing some more reviews. I'm so skeptical of doing book reviews because, I started doing this podcast, and, the Substack is really me writing book reviews and stuff. And people are always like, oh, review my indie book. But then so many indie writers are just total like reprobate tools, because they're like, oh, review my book. But what they really want is you to just glaze them the whole time, and it's just like, well, what if it sucks? Right. And then I can't be honest. And I feel like the negative blowback is almost not worth it. Like what am I doing here? So that's kind of why I think the indie scene really needs independent reviewers that aren't writers themselves, or people that can be like, hey, I'm going to review books honestly, and I'm going to burn you or glaze you based on like the quality and how I like it. I just wish people understood basic critical ideas of how to be a critic, right? Like there seems to be that there's so many people on Substack that are absolutely just unmistakable retards, right? When it comes to so much of this stuff, right?
Whoa, hold on. There's retards on Substack. Point them out.
Yeah.
Hit me up, bro.
Well,
yeah, you're right. Well, it's because it's all supposed to be positive and positive and positive and positive and positive, and it's just a big cheerleading circle jerk.
Right.
Yeah. No. Shut up.
But
your shit sucks and it's all retarded.
It's because good. It's because you have pop culture brain and you have consumer brain, and in consumer brain you identify yourself, your own personal self, with what you consume, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm a fan of Brandon Sanderson, anyways, I'm a fan of Brandon Sanderson, and if you don't like Brandon Sanderson, you don't like me. You're offending me, and it's like, you know what? That's not how things work in real life. Right?
Well, yes, you're offending their pagan gods.
Right, exactly.
And so
I think Evelyn Waugh, I think it was Evelyn Waugh that said that, like, when you do a book review, or when you review something, it doesn't have to be a book, it can be a piece of, like I don't know, any media, film, whatever, right? You can say, hey, this thing is great. This book is great. This film is great. It's good, objectively good, and I like it. right? That's category 1. Then you can say, this book is not good, but
Right.
I like it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Right?
Yeah, that's okay to say.
And then you can say, this book is not good and I don't like it. Right? You can even say something like, this book is really good, but I don't like it. You know, and that's here's a good example, right? I think that Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy is a masterpiece of American fiction. Probably one of the best American novels ever written. I don't like it. All right.
Here, hold on. What if you had an opinion about a book and you said this book is fantastic, this is a great book. I'm deeply ambivalent about it.
That's actually how I feel about Blood Meridian.
I knew it.
It makes me unhappy to read that book. I don't like. I just don't like it. It's like, it doesn't make me feel good. But is it a great novel? Oh my God, yes, it is an amazing novel. It is technically, spiritually, it does so much. You know, the way it's written, the themes, they're perfect. They're amazing. I just don't like it. I'll never read it again. You know, like, I just don't like it. Right. And I love other Cormac McCarthy. I actually like Suttree better than Blood Meridian. I like No Country for Old Men better than Blood Meridian. I like Child of God better than Blood Meridian because it's funny. Blood Meridian is not funny and it's really depressing. I don't like The Road. That's another book that people really love. The Road's a fantastic novel by Cormac McCarthy. I don't like it because I don't like post-apocalyptic fiction at all. But is it a great book? Yes. All right. And then there's a bunch of books that I like that are absolute trash. All right. I like The Wheel of Time. You know?
Yeah.
They're horrible books. Okay.
Yeah.
They're just horrible, tedious books, but I enjoyed reading them. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I liked the first Hobbit movie. I thought it was great when I saw it in theaters. I love the dwarf singing thing. You know, I even like the silly like goblin fights and stuff. I thought that but is it a great movie? No, it's not a great movie, but I still like it. You know, and that's okay. All right. You know, and then if people don't like Dostoevsky, for example, which is my favorite author, and you go, oh, Dostoevsky kind of sucks. I'm like, okay, cool. You're whatever, man. It doesn't hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? Like, it's just whatever, dude. You know, like, that's not for you. You know, if you say Dostoevsky sucks, then you're retarded. Right. And if you say Dostoevsky's one of the greatest writers of all time, but he's not my favorite, that's fine.
Dostoevsky is one of the greatest writers of all time. It's fantastic. I got 5 chapters into Brothers Karamazov, and I just had to put it away for a while.
It's a tough book, and you have to be at the right time. For me.
Yeah, it's just right. That's a summer book. That's summer when I got nothing but time.
Right. And you know, some people, some people like Tolstoy more than Dostoevsky, and I think they're wrong. But Tolstoy is also a fantastic writer. You know,
right? Jason, it's your only Dostoevsky is the only one you're allowed to post about on Substack.
Yeah, that's true. You can only post about Dostoevsky.
He's the only author. He's the only author that there's ever been. People misspell his name a lot, and they pretend that there's like other authors not named Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
But they're all fools. They're all fools. They should be shot.
No.
Oh yeah. See, Hoss, I like Brothers Karamazov a lot. Like it's a joy to read, but I got 5, 6, 7 chapters in. And I was like, man, I just can't do this right now. I love it, but it's almost like it's too much joy.
Yeah,
it's too good. I got to relax a little bit.
It's my favorite novel, and I've read it multiple times, and I love it. Like, I'm actually thinking about doing a reread soon because I bought the latest translation, and I still haven't read the latest translation, and I've been meaning to read it. I mean, I love the book, and I actually really like Crime and Punishment a lot. Also, I really like Demons. I like, The Idiot. I like all his novels. I didn't love The Underground Man because that's kind of one of his early works, and it's just like it's kind of like a prequel to Crime and Punishment. A lot of the ideas in Crime and Punishment are kind of like prequeled in, and not prequeled, but like it's like in proto formation in The Underground Man. But
an early version.
Notes from The Underground, not The Underground Man. The Underground Man is the name of the character.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's writers that like I just don't particularly enjoy reading at all. Like I don't like Franz Kafka. Everybody loves Franz Kafka. I read Metamorphosis. I read The Penal Colony, which Penal Colony is my favorite of Franz Kafka stuff. I read a bunch of his short stories. I There's something about German writers that like always I don't enjoy them. I don't know why.
Well,
Like
it's
I
because
just
they're German. That's
yeah,
why.
I don't know. I don't know what it is about
Clearly.
Kafka and like I. But is he amazing? Absolutely. I
Yeah,
just
sure.
I it's not my thing. Yeah, the Metamorphosis is interesting because it's like it's a very depressing short story.
I made
It's
my
funny because
I
everybody's
made my
like, oh,
students read that earlier this year.
but
And
I mean, it's so
they were
good
like,
though. You
"What?"
can hate
They're
it. You
like,
can hate it, but it's a
"Yeah, like
great
what
work
is
of
this?"
fiction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
you're like,
what is this? I don't understand.
this morning I woke up some
And then
sort
the
of a beetle,
venomous bug.
like some sort of a cockroach. That's how I
Turned
feel
into
every
a bug.
morning. I'm
I
like
need to go to
basically,
work.
I'm Gregor Samsa maxing out here. I wake up like, fuck, god damn, I gotta go to work and I'm a
And
giant
then I
beetle and my neck
and then I
hurts.
died. And then I died and everybody lived happily ever after.
Yeah. And then my family threw an apple at my carapace and it was stuck in my
Got
thing and
stuck.
I got infected and I died. Yeah, it's a miserable book, or story,
And there's
and
random dudes move in and it's just a
yeah,
mess.
like I love Haruki Murakami. I love the Japanese stuff, and I love the Wind Up Bird. The Wind Up
Yeah.
Bird Chronicle is basically this giant like 900-page novel about a dude that's looking for his cat. His wife leaves him. He hangs out in like the backyard with this like 16-year-old girl like smoking cigarettes, and then he goes down in a well and he sits there in the dark. That's basically the whole novel, right? I love it. But if like it's not like a book that I'm like, hey man, if you don't like it, you're retarded. No, because it's
Yeah.
like, right, like, yeah, it's like I get why people wouldn't like that kind of stuff, right? But if you like that kind of stuff, it's perfect, right? So yeah,
right.
like you can do this stuff. All right, guys, we're gonna call it a night. I hope you
Yep.
guys thanks for joining us. It was great. I will, I'm gonna do some writing on this whole space thing because I really want to
Please
think
do.
about it.
I look forward to exploring those thoughts more.
Yeah,
And
and
if you find any relevant reading, please let me know. I'll be out of school in about a little over a month, and then I'll have plenty of time to do things.
yeah, other we have real jobs, so we'll just be going to work still, not teachers. I'm sure.
No, it's fine. My job's not real.
I'm thinking of quitting my job and becoming a teacher soon. So,
Cool.
we'll see. I'm going to use this podcast as my job application.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. I'll write you a recommendation letter. He's less retarded than your average person.
Dear retards, you should hire him to teach the other retards.
Dear retards, you got to hire this retard. It'll help out your retards. Yours
Right.
truly, retard.
I'll be hired right away. Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm going to be teaching the GATE program, the special, giving fluoride to all the smart students.
You've got a degree and a pulse. You're in. You're in.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you for joining us. Like, share, and subscribe, please. I appreciate it. I'm not going to say see you next week because I probably won't because I'm having surgery, but we'll probably see you 100% in 2 weeks. So keep an eye out and join us, and then we're going to get back to a regular schedule soon. So good
Yes,
night,
sir.
and have sweet dreams about space, and don't wake up a beetle like Gregor Samsa. Good night, guys.